What is up, everybody? I'm in the house with Superstar Money, with Superstar Joe and Superstar Rob, fellow Canadians, daily YouTubers. These guys, man, more people got to know about them. They're legit as hell. I've been following them for quite some time, and I was like, man, these guys, they tackle everything with data. They tackle everything with analytics. Super intelligent, really, really great discussions. So, man, I'm so excited to have you guys here, and thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. But you're giving us too much credit. Okay, we're just like every other guy. We're not super intelligent. We're none of that. We're just giving our opinions on there, and we just hope people enjoy it and enjoy the videos and come back for the next one.
Great to meet you, Superstar Chad. We
it.
gotta welcome you. I think we gotta give him a little fist bump.
Where are you? Where are you on the screen? This one?
Yeah. I'm gonna tackle two of you guys. This is a 2-1, bro.
This is not a fair fight. It's not a fair fight.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, this is good. And man, it's crazy because you guys are Canadian. You're like a 40-minute drive from where I'm at. That's insane.
Yeah,
you guys in Vaughan?
Small world. Yeah.
You want to take this one, Joe?
Yeah, we're in Vaughan. We're north of Toronto, but it's crazy. Like when I first started watching the VeVe creators, you obviously popped up. You were in the space earlier, right? And I don't even remember. I think you were in the car or something, and you were talking. It was during Disney Week. That's when I joined. So I remember I'm like looking up, what the heck is this VeVe stuff? And no, your face popped up, and I was like, this looks like Toronto. in the background. I'm like, this looks like Toronto. I'm like, I'm sure this guy's Canadian. Even like the way you talk, it sounds.
Supposedly we have an accent.
It's like you're one of our buddies, you know?
Yeah. A few people have said that you guys have an accent that they can tell we're Canadian. But what I found is that, especially with Toronto, is that there's a lot of people from Toronto everywhere, and that includes on VeVe as well. So for sure, I mean, eventually as the app continues to grow, we're going to see more and more of that. So if there was ever a Toronto meetup, I think that even right now, as small as VeVe is, you could probably still get a decent amount of people, and it's only going to grow from there. It's a small community right now. People know each other from the same city. There's other YouTubers meeting up with each other because they're close together. So I think that's one of the great things right now about being in a smaller community like VeVe. I'm calling it smaller because of the potential for it to grow. That's why it's relatively, I feel that way. But yeah, for sure. Thanks for having us. Of course, we appreciate the opportunity to come on your channel and have this discussion with you. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, it's so cool seeing your guys' dynamic, and you guys like post every day. And man, your stuff is like very good because you go sometimes, talking about some different concerns that people have, and then other times you're talking about gamification, utility, the future of VeVe. So it's very diverse. So maybe you can elaborate on a little bit more for like new, viewers as to what your channel's about.
Yeah. So like you said, we post every day. And we try to give a voice to, I guess, the VeVe fans or the VeVe community. A lot of them don't have a YouTube channel to express themselves, so they'll just come around and talk on our channel, or we'll see even comments on other channels like yours. And that gives us ideas to talk about. So let me give an example. Actually, not too long ago, we did a video about the Marvel Mighties, and we said Marvel Mighties will not be gamified. We did a video called it because it was against the grain, right? Yeah. And then a lot of people gave us good points as to why they would be gamified. So the next day we did a video why Marvel Mighties will be gamified.
Yeah.
And just like to give that different voice.
Yeah, and we'll actually shout out, he's another YouTuber, Rob Stuff, who actually was able to, in our comments, mention and make the connection that actually it kind of resembles another game that exists right now in the physical world. Maybe that's the connection. So you kind of got 2 points of the story there. It hasn't been gamified yet, but of course that speculation's there. And that's what we want to do, right? Just bring different perspectives and get conversations going. And then together, I feel like if we never posted that video, then Rob Stuff would have never saw the video and commented and give that idea. And then it spread throughout the community about the Marvel United and that potential and that speculation. So for sure.
So smart. It's like nice for a channel to be able to see both sides of the coin, because a lot of times, like even I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I'm guilty of that. I'm like, straight FOMO, but then I'm like, wait a second here, like we gotta dial it back. And it's funny because I was watching one of your guys' videos and I saw it was like sell your grails. I was so pissed when I saw that. I was like, I'm the grail guy, man, and you guys are like sell your grails. So to be fair though, when I watched the video, you guys made a lot of amazing points. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about why you came up with that provocative title and some of the info.
I think I'm gonna start off taking that one there. So first of all, like we are 100% pro VeVe. We believe VeVe long term has incredible potential. Like the way that this company sells themselves without marketing right now. They don't even have marketing with the Disney IP, which is one of the big reasons why we're here. We think that there's a huge potential going forward in the future. But at that time that we made the video, and we made ones before that too, one of them, speaking of provocative titles, was all your VeVe collectibles are going to zero. And what the reason why we posted that is because we started realizing that that off-app gem market was really flourishing. It was getting more and more popular. You know, we were able to buy gems off app for half price. Of course, everyone does it at their own discretion. You can get scammed, but we were able to do that with trustworthy sources. So we saw a big problem there because we're like, you're buying gems off app, which automatically gives you a huge spread in terms of your ability to take a loss and sell out and then just hold to MTL if you want to. Right. So that was one problem. The second problem is that you're not bringing in fresh gems, right? Like you need new gems into the system. The more gems there are in app, the higher prices should go around, because people are buying gems from other people. They're just recycling gems. And then you're in an environment that's deflationary. You're getting burns in the secondary market and you're getting burns in the primary market. So that's why we made that video.
You're losing gems all kind. You buy something for 100 gems. Somebody else goes and buys 100 gems for 50 bucks. Now they can sell it for 70 gems, make 20 bucks profit if they were to cash out. It just sends it downwards, right? So we're still kind of in that thing because there's been nothing to change it. But maybe like web app, I think that's the next catalyst coming, might help a little bit because you'll be saving on some of the fees in the Apple store. So maybe people will be less prone to go off app and they'll buy legit gems, but I don't know.
Wow, that's super interesting. And I feel like that's a very complicated concept. A lot of people that aren't mathematically inclined can really understand what's going on in the background, right? So that's a super interesting thing. And so I guess that goes, you know, in the opposite of that. What does inflation kind of mean? And like, how would that play out?
So then we made another video talking about why we think that inflation is inevitable, because we are pro VeVe. I believe in that video, we showed the OMI burn chart, right? Yeah. We talked about how the OUP is going to come in. People are going to want more OMI. And as it continues to be burned, things will become more scarce. But we also talked about how if you look at the future of the NFT space, there's billions more dollars in investment coming into the NFT space. So even at VeVe, I think right now, I think it was an estimated 30 billion. I'm going completely off the top of my head. I don't remember the numbers, but I think it was like 30 billion, and they have like a percent. Right now, we back calculated it. And then we just took that new value and multiplied by the same percent in that video. And what you found is that there's another $400 million still planned to come into VeVe. So we believe as time goes on, as people become more comfortable with the NFT space, there should be more money coming into this app, more time for the app to develop, and therefore more gems for the collectibles.
Yeah. Wow. Very cool, guys. And I've got a question, because, you know, we talked earlier about like it being a bit of a smaller user base than we originally anticipated. And I remember a lot of times they're like, oh, we have 2.6 million active users. But when we go look at the unique addresses, we see like 500 and something thousand. And then I forget exactly what it is, but like once you get over like 100 NFTs, there's like fewer than 10,000 people with 100 or more VeVe NFTs. And so I guess like how much, like, because in Disney Week, everything exploded. Remember that? Like that was, and that's when you guys joined, and things were like just flying. I mean, so what do you think that really means now? Like how many active users? Like I'm presuming they might have seen the amount of accounts created that were like trying to get a drop or whatever, and that might entail an active user. But I just feel like that's something that we don't really talk about. Like I personally think there's maybe only a few 100,000 real like heavy active users, but what do you guys feel about that?
So I think we did something similar in another video about how to become a VeVe whale using MCP. And we brought up, I don't know if you know Bravos Assassin and his Excel sheet and all that. He has a bunch of stuff where he points out how many wallets were winning drops and stuff, and how many wallets actually have more than one collectible or two collectibles. So that's kind of how we got that, because we figured if you had so many collectibles, you were in the top tier of MCP. So do it with the math that they've done for us with the wallets. It looks like what, Rob, 500,000 wallets?
Yeah, or 600, something like 600, I think.
That are actually like real people. Maybe it's like 2+ though. It's like 2+.
No, 600 is more than one collectible.
More than, yeah, so 2+.
More than one.
Yeah.
Okay. Still a lot, right? Like, I mean,
but how many use it still? Like, how many are dead from losing all their money, or like 80% of if they joined in January, they're more than likely probably not participating anymore.
Yeah,
I know a few of those people.
We did a live where we talked, because we've talked about MCP for a while now, like even back in January, and then there's MCP Pro, and then we did a live, and someone said to us, you know, we're not whales, but they said, you know, stay in your lane. MCP is a whale game, and that is still true. I mean, it's definitely, the more you own, the more money you pump in, the better you'll be on MCP. But I don't like, based on the number of like if you look at the wallets and you see how many people own over 50 collectibles, you start realizing that it's actually like 10,000 people that actually are in that range. And we took some of the cheapest comics, rare comics on the app, which give you pretty good yield for your MCP. And what we found was that like for 1,000 gems, you can get into that like top 1.5% of people. So it's not necessarily a whale game, and don't get discouraged if you're new to VeVe and you want to participate in the MCP.
Wow. Man, these are some big hits, guys. Like that's some big news right there. Cause I think that's what my friends and I were starting to discuss too. We're like, okay, we're, you know, with these amount of wallets, let's say there is 2.6 million users according to VeVe. If you have more than 50 to 100 NFTs and they're $4 a comic now, $15 for Ursula. I mean, like there's some good deals right now if you're serious about VeVe, right?
Yeah, I think those deals exist because like if you just look at the market caps of all the collectibles and like the number of mints, and of course the grails are high end market caps. What you find is that like there's just not enough gems to go around. So like it's really up to the person to hold until that time comes back. That new NFT pump, like right now the appetite's not there, and we check the Google Trends all the time, and it's just not there. The search isn't there. One day there's gonna have to be another pump. It's like, and I know you're involved in crypto, so I'm sure you're fully aware of the swings that happen. And when that day comes back, like that, I think will be the time where we might see those highs again. But of course, it's all speculation.
Right.
Right. You've seen it already once. You were here before Disney. So like, how was it before then? Was it kind of similar to this? Like kind of no one really talking about it, and then all of a sudden, bam?
Man, even worse. Like even further down. Like I would stay in August, like just like this is around my wedding time too. So I was kind of distracted, but it looked as though similar to now, like VeVe was really tanking. And man, like Rizzos were going like low mint Rizzos were like not even 2K. I think like Secret Rare Spider-Man was like 1.6K gold. I saw 2 silver Mooglies go for under 5K, right? This is like the time. And so everyone was just getting out. And then all of a sudden November hit and it was like blast off. And then January hit and it was like, I couldn't even fathom what was happening, right? Yeah. You guys still came in an amazing time because November, like things were starting to pick up, and then even that little 3-month window. So I mean, I'm hopeful that it'll come back, but I think it's going to be a bit. I don't think like people that are thinking it's happening in the summer or whatever. I'm like, I feel like, I don't know, like just with like COVID kind of, you know, like there's what's the word? There's like a, you know, economists can really do a good job here, but there's a lot of things worldwide that are happening that I think are also affecting this market.
Yeah.
So yeah. What do you guys think? Like, when do you think the next pump could be?
Well, you touched on it there. I think it's going to go hand in hand with NFTs as well. So if NFTs are on the down in the trends in the world, then there's gonna be less people looking into different NFT projects, right? So VeVe won't be found, especially like that's just naturally finding it if they don't come up with a catalyst, if they don't drop Pokemon, if they don't do one of these big heavy hitter things, right? Which with the current ecosystem, even if they do drop Pokemon, it'll be a huge spike and then it'll start to taper down, and it's just going to happen. There's not, like Rob said, there's not enough gems to liquidate. You can't liquidate everything in the app, so the market caps are all false as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, and like no one really knows when that next pump is going to come. I just think this is a good time for VeVe to prepare. You know, get MTL so you kind of kill that off app market. That's going to help, instead of recycling gems, buying new gems. You know, get your website set up for more access. And then they can start marketing, which I think is going to really, really help them. There's so many people that I think are interested in some high quality IP NFTs, and they just don't know about VeVe. We talk about it every day, so for us, it's so obvious, but there's tons of people out there that just don't even know about it. And if they learned about it, they would probably enter. But I think they want to fix the app first with some of these issues, and then really start hammering people with marketing and trying to bring in the new people.
With marketing, you're going to get utility. I think that's going to be their main marketing goal, is to show how you can use them to get into things, or promo codes, like go to McDonald's, get a promo code, get a Happy Meal toy or whatever. Like, I just think it, like Rob said, they're not ready for it on the app yet. And they've said it in the last AMA. They want all these other things to be out first, everything moving smoothly, and then maybe we'll be ready. So you're right. I think it's a lot further along than people think.
And if you look at Bitcoin, and I'm sure you remember, because I know you're a crypto guy.
Yeah.
If you look at Bitcoin, we went through that crypto winter. So 2017, I think it was, and we had a major pump. We went almost through a 2-year crypto winter before we started seeing those new highs again in Bitcoin. So if you remember that and you're invested in that, those people who had it at the time for 2 years, I mean, you had a lot of people who got spooked, sold off on the low end, And if they were able to last that period of time, they would have seen those new highs again. A little bit different, you know, crypto's more of it's decentralized. You're able to actually cash out whenever you want. But eventually that functionality will be here on VeVe as well. And that's why we're very hopeful for the future going forward. But I can't give you a time.
A lot of this too depends on the team and how things run and how like marketing, like Bitcoin marketing is all word of mouth. Like no one's really out there. You don't see Satoshi or whatever his name is putting up signs like "Go buy Bitcoin," right? So I mean, here maybe it could be a little bit more accelerated than 2-year winter, but I don't think it's going to be in the next month or so. I think there's a lot of things that have to get done.
Right. Well, man, you guys, first of all, you guys are super smart. I'm enjoying this a lot. I'm kind of sitting back and taking it all in. People, if you haven't subscribed, go subscribe right now to Superstar Money. Check these guys out. All the conversations are like this and better. So yeah, so super cool, man. And I guess like my question back to you guys is like, you know, we keep seeing all these different like little pumps here and there, like after the drops, right? But then it starts to really fickle out pretty quick. And then people just move on to the next one. So am I wrong when I'm like saying, hey, this is first to the blockchain and this is the golden age of NFTs? Or is it really like, you think just like maybe major popularity or, you know, these like pump and dump things? Like how do people really know the long-term worth? Because, you know, you guys talked about your grails and how they drop significantly. So, you know, what should people be doing, I guess?
Well, I think to answer the first part of the question, it was like about the drops coming up right now.
Yeah.
Just the way the market conditions are, the drops tend to go under. Most people right now are just like, there's not enough gems in app, like we said. So they're buying almost like gambling. Joe can speak more to this because I stayed out of the drop today. I know he goes for it. You know, try to get that ultra rare. Yeah. And if you don't, you just get rid of it right away to get some.
There's opportunity, but it's better to be in gems right now. But yeah, you can, like you said, you gamble for the comics, especially if you're going for it. I'll try and buy the comic, a couple of them for 7 gems or whatever it is, and then if I don't hit a rare or above, I'm selling it for a loss. But it's a gamble. It's like going to buy a scratch ticket kind of thing, right? Yeah. Just trying to build the stack of gems. I'm not trying to keep those comics, especially if I don't like them. But today, for example, I picked up a couple low digit because they were like maybe 10, 20 gems over the floor. I'm like, for a 3 digit. And now I'm trying to flip it to get another 20, 30 gems on it. It's just a flipper game right now. I feel like everything's gonna go down until there's other catalysts.
Yeah, and no one knows. So the question now is, what should you do? Like, this is like, again, no one has a crystal ball. So I can just say what I'm doing, which is I'm watching the ones I want to own, but I'm still buying along the way down because I don't know that next catalytic event. So for example, you know, I really, really wanted the Cogsworth golden moment. So in that situation, I had a feeling as time goes on, they might continue to drop, but I decided to go for a low mint because, you know, when it comes to low mints, there's only 959, whatever it is, that you can own between number 40 or 41 and 999. And I'm holding it for the long term. I'm not even checking the price. And then when it comes to drops, I'm just kind of waiting out. I had a feeling that, you know, maybe in May, we're going to have another drop that's going to, people's attentions are going to go there. And then I'll pick up this set. Even though I know it might still go down because I don't know where the bottom is, I kind of just chip away at it when I feel I'm financially able to. And then of course you got to have a stomach for it, because if you're checking it every day and it dips, and of course none of this is financial advice, but at least the way that I am, once I make that decision to go long-term with it, I'm kind of holding it until I feel that VeVe's kind of more established, but I'm buying because it's still early and I don't know when that day would come. So.
Right. I think that's a great point that you make, because like when you believe in that product and what that NFT means, then like overnight, like let's say you drop 50%, but then one day, you know, it can go up like 300%. Like a perfect example is like, you know, Marvel Comics #1, the secret rare. I remember it was like 1.2K, then it was 1.8K, then it was 50K within a matter of weeks. And if you bought it at like 1.8 and it dropped to 1.2, what does that mean in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's a really good point.
Yeah, like people maybe selling grails are doing it just to cash out, but like even I didn't come in early enough to take advantage. I think it was like a $3 Todd or something when it first came out. So I didn't come in. I didn't know about the project, and of course, like the Disney's what really drew me in. But I feel like even if I did have it, maybe I wouldn't necessarily even want to sell it, because I still want to see where this project's going to go long term, and what kind of utility is going to come along with some of these collectibles.
Yeah. And what stuff has dropped the least? I've been trying to, because I noticed you guys do a lot of analytics, and I've been trying to like follow the market, because, you know, I saw like Secret Rare Spider-Man went from 100K down to 20K at one point, right? I think it's at like 32 now. That's like an 80% reduction. But I was looking at some of the other comics, like the Grail comics, like Fantastic Four #1. And that didn't really seem to move as much, like maybe 50% max.
Yeah.
What do you guys take on that?
Comics, I've been tracking the comics for a while actually, because I was picking them up on the way down here,
Yeah.
and they haven't gone nearly as far down as collectibles. Like collectibles have been beat up. They started to take a hit afterwards. Like I guess people got rid of all their collectibles. Now they're trying to sell off whatever else they own. But there was a couple weeks ago, there's some good deals on comics. They've recovered a little bit too. But I think you're right. I think comics right now, they're like the dividend stocks, and the collectibles are your Tesla and your Netflix.
Yeah, and I think that like a while ago we had another video. Again, this was like way back when I think Secret Rare Spider-Man was like, was it 80K or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a video and it was titled, speaking of provocative, do not buy Secret Rare Spider-Man or Todd. So, I mean, we did that video back then. And the point of that video was more like, it's so low, the mints are so low, that's kind of like a cult. And then, you know, as people start losing commitment to the cult, they may sell it. But I think what ended up happening, I don't actually think we got that one right. I think what actually ended up happening is that like the buyers just aren't there right now for that many gems, right? Yeah. So you're kind of just constantly undercutting yourself, undercutting each other if you want to maybe flip out and buy a bunch of other things. And that, I think that's what's going on right now with like the very, very expensive ones. But if I had one, I probably wouldn't sell it. Like at the end of the day, these floors are just what people decide to sell them for. It's not like the stock market, like this efficient market that just moves perfectly. You know, you have millions of buyers and millions of sellers. It's an inefficient market. So that's why you can see prices just kind of change like crazy out of nowhere overnight. And over the last 3 months, it's been a massive bear market.
And that's why you got to hold some things, because like example, even Chad brought it up a couple minutes ago, was the Marvel Comics Secret Rare. I don't know if you were following the last couple of weeks. It was like in the 30,000s, and then all of a sudden it was like 70,000 in like a day. So it's like you don't know when that day is gonna come. But again, that could be a pump, and I think it went down now. It's like 50 or something.
So I had a question for you, Chad, because you got in early. So a couple questions I had is, I noticed you've done some great interviews on this channel. So how did that end up happening? How did it kind of develop that you were able to do that? I know you interviewed David Yu and others.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it started out like, first of all, there was only maybe like 10 to 20 YouTubers out when I started, and some of them weren't consistent. Like some people were there only 10 to 12 videos, and then they took off, and other people, you know, were really all about it. And I think interviews were just one of the things that I saw fewer of. And I was just interested in actually learning, because there wasn't like really a forum. Like Twitter Spaces wasn't really a thing back then because there wasn't enough volume of people. You know, we'd have these AMAs, and so I was just kind of like, you know, went to fellow people similar. I had like 200 subs, and I was interviewing other people with like 200 subs, and in some fashion, some of those people actually ended up being like big players in the community now, which is interesting, right? And so it kind of started off like that, like just really, you know, getting to know people. I was lucky to get to know Cavell a little bit, Taps, you know, like not to an extent where I would consider like, oh my God, we're great pals. Like they're obviously like a level above where I'm at, but it just got me, you know, able to have those kind of discussions. And then from there, I kind of made it a bit of a relationship with Akomi and Reese, and I did the VeVe Meme Masters tournament. I don't know if you guys know, it was in August of last year or even earlier. And so I kind of helped Takomi voluntarily from that project. And that's where I got to know some of the inner people, and then had that relationship. And I just one day was like near Christmas, I was like, man, like David Yu's never done an interview with like collectors. Like that would be crazy if we had like a collector 9,000 chat. And I like just wrote this huge email to Akomi being like, this would be sweet if you guys can make this happen. And then they're like, yeah, let's do it. And that was pretty much how it started. And then from there, I had momentum even before, because Lewis Morgan wanted to interview me, the co-founder of Gymshark. And it was my buddy Danny, just from connections in the community, that he like basically hooked me up and was like, yeah, man, like go check out Lewis, he wants to do something. And I was like, and it just kind of snowballed. So similar to like you guys here today, like then you could be off talking to somebody else next week. And you know what I mean? It's just, I think the power of connections, people forget about it, and the power of community, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned all the other guys' names, but I seen you first, so I don't know. Like it could be because you're in the same city or whatever. I don't know if YouTube does that, but I mean, cool. Or maybe we're just on the same wavelength. I'm searching the things that you're writing out there.
It's so cool because when I put out a video back in the day, I'd get like 100 views. And I was like stoked. I was like, oh my God, like 100 people wanted to watch this, you know? And now it's like funny, like even for you guys, like we don't get 1,000 views. I'm like, oh, maybe I should have done this differently or whatever, right? It's just
because it's a Saturday. That's why. It was a Saturday.
But it's so cool, like being able to kind of share these insights and this enthusiasm with other people that are like-minded, because when I saw this early, I just thought like I knew I wasn't nuts, but a lot of people thought I was. And then now I'm like, no, now there's all these people that are like, you know, camaraderie around the same ideas. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
How did you find it? What was the first thing that you showed you VeVe?
Man, it was some, like, I was looking up like just the man, what's his name? It's a black guy, everything currency. I forget it. So yeah, he was just like talking about all these like low cap coins that could like moonshot, and I was just investing a shitload of money. And then he talked about a Comey, and then he's like, yeah, and this one doesn't even have like an actual like address yet. You have to like type it in. And I was like, oh, let me throw $5,000 into that. That sounds like if it does pop, like nobody knows what the fuck it is. So it's like, let me throw some money into that. And that's pretty much how it started. And then it just 6x'd like almost instantly at that hype. And then I was like, what is this? And then I went in, and Todd was at like not even bought out, bro. There's like 6,500 Todds left.
Wow. Yeah. So you were there. Yeah. So it was a $3. It was a $3 Todd.
Well, Todd it was $80 US to buy. So it was about 120 for us Canadian. But I bought 18 within the course of an hour, bro. I was like, and I just kept clicking till my literally maxed my little credit card. I was like, let me just, you know.
Yeah. It didn't restrict you on how many you can buy.
25 was the max.
25 max.
And then you would just open another account.
Yeah, you would use multiple accounts.
Yeah.
Very easy workaround.
It seems like most of the early people found it through Omi.
Yeah.
And then there was Andre Jick who put it out there, and I think a lot of our commenters say that they found it through him. Right. And that was coinciding with Disney Week. So I think that's another catalyst that brought it to the all-time highs.
Yeah, and Disney Week for like YouTube, man, I pretty much like gained like 2,000 subs within like 3 weeks, because that was just such a week where I think there was such a massive influx of people. Yeah. And so like we talked about, like same thing will happen to us again. It's like that right catalyst, and then then you make those videos that week, and that's it. Like, you know.
Yeah, that and they tweeted it, and that kind of legitimized the project.
Right.
I almost forget because it was so long ago, but you know,
they
NFT
don't tweet anything else anymore. That's I guess VeVe must have talked to them like, hey, we can't
just
handle
wait.
it yet.
Just wait, don't tweet, because they said they're not ready for more growth right now, right? So they're just like, just wait, like let's get let's get prepared, then just tweet away, just go all out. If Disney could tweet every single day, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, man, and that's all it's gonna take, right? It's gonna take just like some, you know, coordinated marketing efforts to really kind of put us over the edge again. So yeah, man. So what are you guys kind of thinking then for the future of VeVe? Like, what is the prognosis with, you know, actually taking these things off app? Like, is that going to be a thing? Does it matter? I mean, I don't, a lot of people say like, I don't even care unless it's my own keys, because what is then making VeVe different than a video game if you're like locked into one system, you know? And so obviously MTL is going to be a component, but like that interoperability and having your own keys might be critical. So what do you guys take on that?
Want me to take this one? So I think you want to take it, Joe?
No, you can go ahead. I'll follow up.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be important. I think in a way it helps lower risk if you can take it off and bring it elsewhere, so you're not fixed on that app. Especially you hear about accidental locked accounts, all that. But I still think that utility will drive value going forward. So as the app progresses and they start bringing in, and I remember, I think it was a January or February AMA, David Yu, I believe, said that we really want to bring digital games, something along those lines. Like, you know, he basically was talking about how the games and the utility is something that is a focus and priority for them this year in 2022. And I think ultimately that's going to bring the most amount of value. I personally will not take any of my collectibles off app. Yeah. So I may not be the best to answer that as to, you know, why if someone would do it. But what do you think, Joe?
I think you might be tempted to take them off app if you see what some of them go for or something like that on OpenSea or IMX or wherever they are selling. We've seen it with HRO. I'm not in HRO, obviously. Canada, we can't buy them.
Yeah.
But I heard, I don't know what they're doing now. I don't know. I heard they came down a little bit, but when we were able to go on IMX, Canadians like My Collectibles or whatever was buying them for double the price because couldn't get them. So there's things that I think, like, especially these independent artists who maybe don't see the love on VeVe, they're going to push for it, especially to get off app. And then once they're in the sea with the rest of them, if it's going to come down to quality, and if it's premium, like VeVe's saying it is, then it should do just as well as some of these other projects.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are kind of like almost like over anticipating what this off app stuff's going to do. It's like, I think And the other thing too is like, I know there's a lot of people with lots of crypto that are going to come in and buy up, but I'm like, they could still do that. It's just not, they don't want to be risking $20,000 over a black market escrow, which I totally get. Right. But
Yeah.
man, like the other thing too that I keep thinking about is, you know, we've had whales come in, they use gems that they bought at like almost like, you know, half. They come in, they like kill these markets, they stack on certain grails. And it makes me wonder sometimes, like, are whales watching YouTubers and then just stacking the things that are there, presuming are grails, when really it's just like, and they're just all going with it to make money? Or is it like people actually believe in this concept? Like, that's the part that I feel like the Truman Show sometimes. I'm like, is this just all a massive kind of like exploit around me, or is this really like people give a shit? You know what I mean?
I don't think so, or else Fastos would have been 9.9 million.
Yeah.
Well, if they always talk about renting in the future, and like
Yeah.
things like that. If you connect the game to it, and then you can rent it, and there's only 10,000 of them, that means only 10,000 people can play this game. And maybe because of the game, it gets expensive, so you could start renting. Like if you start owning mass percentages of these collectibles, I can see in the future, and I'm sure there are people who can see that development in the future better than us. That makes sense to me right now why they would want to stack. But of course, like we've seen other NFT projects do insane, and they only do well not because of utility, more so for the flex. You know, to have one of the first ones ever, and just say that you joined that party. It was Andre Jick video that I saw where he talked about the VeVe goods and how people own it just to be part of that community and to say that they're in that community. I can see that same thing happening with some of these. You kind of already seeing it develop right now. You know, with some of the grails.
Along those lines, I don't know if you saw, there was an interview with was it Reese? No, it wasn't Reese. It was Dan. I think it was Dan from VeVe, and he was talking about the accessories and how that's going to be kind of one of the ways you're going to be able to make unique mints by throwing on. That'll be cool. So we did a video. What was it called? It was called "Changes Are Coming" or something.
I saw. Was it with the green Superman?
The green Superman.
Yeah.
Digital goods. Yeah,
that's sick.
People didn't like the color green, by the way. That's the only thing they complained about that video. Yeah, it was like, why would you use green with Superman? But that we know that's coming. Actually, if you go on the app, it actually says customizable. So if you go on the app, it has pictures and it says customizable. It's in their white pages. So we know they want to start making it so you can kind of mod your collectibles. So that's some fun things that you can do. And then you can sell it with the mods. So you kind of they're all going to maybe be unique eventually, which would be pretty cool.
Wow. We always talk about that, like that another way to distinct from low mint numbers, because that was the whole thing with sequential data on the blockchain and how it didn't necessarily match up to like the low mint. So it's like if you had a low mint that was like a white Todd, like, or like, you know, like obviously at that point people are going to pay crazy money. Like it's funny, as much as we all get so scared and nervous and try to fall off, as soon as like something like that gets introduced, like we're all like, throw another $2,000 into VeVe. You know?
Yeah, it's kind of like a money pit, right? You get drawn in just every single week. There's always a reason to want to buy or pick up the newest, shiniest thing. But virtual goods, I think, will be one of them. And then with the OUP program, so the OMI utility program, being able to maybe buy those virtual goods with OMI and then using OMI in app, that's going to drive that side of it too. And to have that big ecosystem of OMI and VeVe together.
And MCP is going to help burn and all that. So it's going to be crazy. It's going to be
burning collectibles. Yeah, that's another one.
So I guess the question now is do you have the guts and courage to go nuts for the next few years potentially, right? And take a chance, because if this does pop, like you're going to be laughing, you know what I mean? This will be the biggest NFT project out there. And you're already seeing like Recur and all these other ones that aren't really keeping up with like the momentum that VeVe has and has had for like over a year. And so, I mean, it just goes to show you how difficult it is to, you know, keep people interested, keep people engaged. And especially when a lot of the people that came in were like crypto people that were just trying to make money. And now it's like, okay, now it's like we're trying to transition into collectors and people that really see the long-term vision. So I feel like once we do hit that place again, it's going to be filled with a strong foundation, you know?
Don't you think it's one first, Joe?
No, I think so too. I think we're going to be long term. I'm going to keep putting money in as it goes, just because I believe in the project, and I think we're all on the same page of where this is going. We stuck it out this long. Things are still selling out in a bear market where no one's typing in VeVe on Google, and it's being sustained by community that's still like, that's here. Like, I don't know how many people are new that are coming into the app right now to see their money go down, just because if you look over the last 2 months, it's been nothing but down. So I feel like the core user base has been keeping this thing afloat, which is a good sign in my opinion, because it means that there's still a lot of belief in the project, and we know that there's those catalysts out there that are going to come, and we have that faith. And when we put out a video that has FUD in the title or whatever it is, it's just to let the people know, like, look, this needs to happen first, or this needs to happen next.
Right.
And we follow it up by a FOMO video. So like, we'll be called Moon Boys, FUD Boys. We've been called every name, right? But it's because we believe in the project. That's why we're here. We're making videos every day. We wouldn't do that if we thought the VeVe was a trash app. Like,
yeah, no kidding.
You know what I mean?
And I would say, like, in terms of when you say going hard in, like, we like, it's all what comes down to risk tolerance in the end for us. Like, we love VeVe, and I believe chipping away at it for us is is more suited. We're committed to the project. We're here for the long term. But like, I wouldn't go take a loan to buy, for example. Some people do that when they invest, right? They write off the interest, they take loans, they purchase, and the hope is that the rate of return will beat their loan rate, right? So like, I wouldn't do anything crazy. It's still, NFT space is still a very speculative space. It's still very early. You might need your money. Like, the more dangerous thing is that you put it in, and then something unexpected happens and you have to pull your money out, and you can't wait it out for when it finally comes to fruition. So that's why I kind of just chip away at it. So the money I'm putting in is really money I don't need for a very long time.
Right.
Even though I would love to go and pump in, a massive initial amount, but I've done what I can at this time, and then life continues. And there's other things too. There's other investments. There's obviously expenses and costs to live your lifestyles. Okay, Chad, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now? Like, how are you maneuvering and stick handling the current market conditions? You've obviously been in here for like a long time. So you've had an amazing, accumulation phase. You went through the pump phase, and then now you're back in the bear market phase. How did you just maneuver? What kind of personal moves did you make? And what are you going to probably do in the future going forward?
Yeah, so I think the most difficult part is that, everybody's got like these long-term visions for VeVe. And I think like, there's a great chance that, people that are like holding for the long-term are going to make a lot of money. But I think, if you're in a position like me, where you're like more of an average person, you're not a big time millionaire, like taking profits is something that I've done, a few times. And the first time that I did it was more for necessity, because I was like, had a house and a wedding to pay for, and I didn't really time it. Because I was just like, oh, damn, like, I don't want to cut into savings. Let me see what I can get rid of some of these, quote unquote JPEGs to my wife at the time. And then this time I like timed it better. So I actually sold some stuff off, like not during the peak, but just a few things. And I think that, it's important for people to kind of, especially in gems, to take those gems, January, February, if you notice like a huge market cycle. And the problem that we all have, I think, is like, once you had an NFT that's like a grail or something that you've like spent so much money on, you're like, oh, I'm just going to hold this. And there's a good chance, like you guys talked about earlier, that it does like a 10X or whatever, whenever overnight. But at the same time, like if you have 40,000 gems, the amount of damage that you can do from that, especially if there's like another catalyst, like let's say like Darth Vader comes out, and the secret rare 1,000 editions are going for like 2.3K, and you stack like 17 of them, guarantee you if there's another catalyst, that thing's going to 40K, and then you're now got $1 million in the app. That's literally one move you can make. So that's what I keep thinking.
So did you have, let's say, a plan initially when you first came onto the project? You knew you were in incredibly early. Did you have a plan in your mind saying, I'm going to wait for a pump, if it hits this price I'm going to sell? Or you were saying it was just strictly kind of due to your own personal needs, and there was no like specific plan in terms of when to exit? It was just more like, I'll buy it. If it goes up, I'll decide then with the house money.
Yeah. So for me, it was like what I learned, from just like my collecting experience is like only some things will stand out over time. And so my goal early on was just to be like, okay, what are those things? And originally, because we thought scarcity wasn't going to play a big factor, as it certainly has now, is that we thought like golden Mooglies, Donnies, those things were going to be selling for millions and millions of dollars, because we thought that scarcity would never exist on VeVe again as we got more users. So my thing was like identifying those grails and then stacking on them. And so like another example is like when Superman came out, I got like 10 or 11 of those. But like looking back, I would have, if I knew the price that Superman was going to go to, I would have bought like, hundreds if I could have, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, those are the things. And early on, there was only a few people that were buying into popularity, and they could see the big picture. And it took me a while to actually see that until it like hit me like a ton of bricks one day. And so I'm looking at that same factor now, like, okay, Marvel comic #1 SR, there's a lot of comic book collectors, but I'm like, if this thing hits every kid around the world, first ever Spider-Man in my head makes more sense because it's not as niche of a market. But I could be totally wrong. Like, we don't know what's going to happen until those big volume of people comes in. So yes, that was kind of like my my original strategy was just go after the grails, which I thought at the time were those big flex pieces. And so I bought the Golden Moogly by literally selling off Tots. You know what I mean? And that was just like, looking back, I was like, oh, I was so dumb. But at the time, like, people thought that was the flex piece then, and that was the cool piece then.
That was the cool one, Tony. And going forward, oh, go ahead, Joe.
So I was just going to ask him, like, I guess going on top of your question there, now with all the current market conditions, do you weigh your gems more than your then is your gem to collectible ratio any different than it was before, or are you still all collectible like how most people have been? Like, what's the strategy now?
Yeah, so I still have like just 15K gems that I've literally like haven't touched. Like, they're just kind of sitting there, and I don't bite things as quick as I used to because it's not that kind of market anymore where like you could grab a low man and then reflip that right away. Like, you can get lucky and find like a super deal, but that's if you're like obsessed with the market. So right now I'm kind of in a holding pattern. So I've just got like some grails that are left. I've got like cash, and I'm just waiting for like that next big opportunity to then go back at it. But I think like people, I think a lot of people are like really into the MCP. And so for me, even I'm just getting like, if there's cheap comics that are like $4, I'm like, let me grab a few of these, get some on, like, you know what I mean? It's a no brainer, especially given our conversation earlier about MCP. So obviously I'm still kind of like trying to try for that, but I'm not like obsessed with MCP because, like I said, I've seen it in Pokemon so many times where you're getting like packs and these cards are worth like nothing, bro. Like they're worth cents. And so it's like, that's the way that I'm viewing VeVe now. Is like, man, this thing's going to be so massive where there's literally going to probably be billions of editions eventually. And that, like, you can't presume that everybody's going to be collecting worldwide. No. So you got to know what's going to stick.
So do you skip drops now, or do you play the drops? What's that like?
I mean, I went for today for fun. Yeah. Like I was like maybe I'll get a low mint Ursula, and I got a 967 Ursula. So I took like that, but like you talked about, it's a bit of a lotto. Yeah. So but for the most part, I'll skip, man. Like there's been a lot of especially the same NFT in different poses from an artist that's not like hugely famous. I'm like, I just don't see the upside long term. Not nothing against them, but I mean, I would rather have like a one of one art from them on OpenSea as an example than something that's like 60,000 editions or whatever. But it depends on who it is, and everybody has their own preference.
That's a good point. I'm surprised the artists haven't come out with one of one or tried to push for that. You know what I mean? Because that would probably bring a lot of eyes to that side of the fence.
It's true. It's so true. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think like VeVe did talk about they want to do like one-on-one or one of one soon enough. So that'd be kind of nice to have. But yeah, man.
Another question for you is, what are your thoughts on the potential of the VeVeverse when it comes to digital land? Do you plan on participating in that? And what do you know about it that you can share with us that maybe gets you excited, and how you're gonna do it? They were saying the VeVeverse might even be ready, hashtag soon, as early as this year. But what do you think?
Yeah, so I've got this really interesting thing, like we have like Elon Musk, right? That's like preparing for humans to travel to Mars. And I personally see things differently. I think that people wouldn't want to risk their lives, especially their humanoid and their body to essentially go off this crazy expedition. So when people talk about like interstellar travel, I'm like, I can only see that from like robots. Like I think humans are really going to be into this metaverse, into these digital things really in depth. And so my contention is that like, we will all be working in the metaverse eventually to some extent. And I think that like VeVeverse land is going to be, your one-way ticket to like financial freedom if you play it right. That being said, I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know if it's going to be like a portal and then it's going to have all the big brands around it and you're going to fly off into Disney's metaverse and this metaverse. I mean, and I think the other big thing that I've learned from Trevor and from other gaming developers is that interoperability, especially between different game designs, and it's like new scripts. It's almost like you're writing one universe for VeVe and then like another script for Disney as an example. So like this is very complicated. So I feel like when people talk about like metaverses and we're all going to be like in our Spider-Man suits going from one thing to another, like I don't think people understand like the complexity. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I think that's like 10 to 15 years out. And so I think, you know, like the long-term vision is like right now it's going to start off more gamification. It's going to be more simple, like more about the social aspect. And then over time, the graphics will get better, and then there'll be AR, and then the VR will come into play. But I just think it's like such a long process. But I do think that getting land super early and then waiting on it for like 5 to 8 years, when then the whole world starts to transition, that's when people are like, you know, it's going to be better than buying a house, in my opinion, because especially if there's like, you know, 5 to 10 metaverses that really are like the cream of the crop, and if you've got a big chunk in there, then holy shit, you know.
Yeah, it's a very exciting thing, and I like how you mentioned about having it connected. There's gonna be so many different metaverses. I know there's small startup companies that are trying to come up with ways to blend them together. And then you mentioned the time frame as well, where you have Facebook and Zuckerberg there saying, I think the official statement was 10 to 15 years for the glasses, but maybe verbally he mentioned 5 to 10. So I think we're definitely a long way out. The digital land gets me excited too. I don't think there's any real experts. I mean, there are people who work in the space for sure.
Yeah.
But like the more you learn about something, what you find with many things in life, the more you realize you don't know. So it's forever learning, trying to come up with new things.
It's already starting to become part of daily life slowly. The example would just be like that Coke drop. You know what I mean? That Coke drop was an ad. It was an ad to just bring out to show off the product, right? And I guess a little test for them to see how it's received and how it affects their sales. Maybe, who knows? Nice mug.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. That's sweet.
But yeah, no, I guess on the same lines of the future and the metaverse and all that, there's obviously one elephant that everyone avoids on the VeVe AMAs, and that is on the above your left shoulder there.
Yeah.
Pokemon. What are the pirates' thoughts on the Pokemon, and are they coming? When do you think they're coming? How do you think they're coming? Will they be tied to Pokemon Go? That's all the questions in one.
Wow, nice. So yeah, so I think when Pokemon drops, I think, it doesn't matter where you're at or what you're doing, like you need to stop, get your shit together and focus, because that'll be, I think, a life-changing opportunity. Just kind of like what we saw in Disney Week, but I think it'll be even more amplified because people collect Pokemon, and I just feel like the target audience for crypto and NFTs, Logan Paul, all these guys, even Lewis Morgan, it's all around like Pokemon. And I think it is the biggest franchise in the world. It's like $100 billion franchise, but I think the collectability aspect is huge within it. And I think, Foster did a video on this, but Pokemon Go had like 160 million downloads or something like that.
Yeah.
And so if you can imagine, with NFTs, doesn't matter if it's VeVe or not, like, people need to get on that. Now, the problem that I think is going to happen is that Pokemon's going to be so intense on VeVe that people are all going to get like, the market's going to bleed like it's never bled before. Like Secret of Spider-Man will be down to like $30, and people are just going to have all these gems just cooking. And then there's going to be like 50,000 editions of Pikachu, and then it's going to drop and people are going to be paying like 10 grand. And then it's just going to drop significantly. So my contention is like, I'm actually going to be saving a large amount of money and getting all the stuff that's grails that isn't Pokemon. And then when people are done with the Pokemon phase, they're going to circulate that money back into other VeVe collectibles. And that's when I'm going to cycle back. Doesn't mean I'm not going to partake on the drops or anything like that, but I just feel as though that wave will just be too steep and it'll be like nearly impossible because all the, the people that I guess have a lot of money, the whales, are all going to eat that up. So yeah. And do I think VeVe's got it? I think they do. I think like they've been teasing us enough about it. I think obviously there's so many things that they want to fix and do before it happens. But the other part now too is we're seeing a lot of competition, like Hero and Recur, and I mean some of it's good, some of it bad. But so we could even see Pokemon do their own thing, and I feel like Disney's.
That's right? What I was getting at. The Pokemon Go thing. They've already built up the how many billion people on Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Is it in their best interest to start something else and pull people away from that? Or is it going to be tied together? Is that the only way that they can do it?
Man, I'm still surprised to this day. Like, as much as I knew VeVe was a strong competitor for Disney, like them getting Disney, I was like, with their first ever Disney NFTs, when they're building a metaverse, it actually just didn't make sense to me. I was like, there must be some kind of, collaboration. So if I was my own company, like I would want to do my own thing personally, especially if I'm Pokemon. But then again, like if VeVe really has such a smooth platform and it's a very complicated process, then it's like, okay, well, these guys know what they're doing. Like, let's just give it off to them. A lot of people will be like, well, there's bots, there's this, there's that. But I think it's, it's getting smoother. They're figuring it out. So, I mean, it's still a catch-22. Like it's not no 100% either way, but all I know is that it doesn't matter if Pokemon's coming out, like I'm taking a like my line of credit off the house. Like I'm getting ready. You know,
So-
my wife's already knows. I'm like, I tell her this like every morning she wakes up, like, hey, Pokemon when it comes, you better be
So
ready.
a couple things to add to that. I think
Yeah.
you're a genius. You just came up with a great video idea. Secret Rare Spider-Man's going to $30.
Yeah,
That'd be a great
yeah.
that'd be a great topic. But
Edit that part out so we can use it.
But
Imagine.
besides that, the thing with Pokemon, I reached out to Niantic. They haven't got back to me. I don't know if they ever will. But I'm curious to know like what they're licensing. I don't know if you know this. Like, does Niantic, like the Pokemon company allows Niantic to use their Pokemon, and they actually help invested in Niantic and gave them money to help basically get that project off the ground. They were a 30-person company. Now they're 800 when they first started. Kind of reminds me of VeVe a little bit because they're around that third range as well. But do you think that there'll be any, like we talk about the Pokemon licensing, but do you think Niantic could be a roadblock at all? Like, how do you think that's happening?
Sure. I mean, like if I was, kind of the umbrella overseeing Pokemon, I mean, I would be a roadblock. Like I'd probably make that decision, or at least try to steer Pokemon into a direction that was beneficial for the larger being, like the larger company, so to speak. So I could see that definitely, being a roadblock. And the other big thing too is that with printing of Pokemon cards, like I think like we talked about this, but man, like there's so many cards that like there's very few that like kind of make it. And so people may also have a misconception, like what if they come out with these NFTs and there's millions and people are like buying into Charizards and whatever. Like, so I think, these things can be completely killed off too. So it depends on the type of market that they're trying to hit. It might not be these whales that we presume are like, it could be like almost like Pokemon Go, where there's just like ample opportunity for everybody. You know what I'm trying to say? Like Pikachu could run an edition size of like 1 million, and then that worth will not be there. And so we might all be going crazy about what this might mean. But unless there's like, 10,000 editions or less, or some of these first ever ones, I mean, I just don't see that maybe standing the test of time. It could just be like another card printing thing. So there's so many different dynamics and different things that could happen. And that's what people don't realize, is that like we already have shit on this app that's already like insane how few there are, what they mean, the significance of them, like first Marvel comic, first Batman, first Superman. I mean, we can keep going off here, but it's just like this stuff, in my opinion, is so monumental. And the other thing that people don't understand is like, unlike collectability, where things like in statue collecting, they all care about like what looks better, what's more detailed, what's nicer, and who the artist is. But the thing is, they don't really have blockchain. And with blockchain, especially if these things can be continually upgraded through like the VeVe app, how are people going to distinguish value long term when you have like Recur and like 10 other NFT platforms that are all dropping Superman? And they're all like upgrading, and then they're just going to get more and more complex and better. And so like, in my opinion, you distinguish that with the timestamp, and like, don't get me wrong, like interoperability will play a huge component as well. But I definitely think people are underestimating what the first means. I'm not saying that it's like, 100% of the equation. It could be like 8% or 20%, but it's a pretty significant component.
That's the good thing. You kind of touched on it there, that they are upgrading as they go here. We saw it like even with the Ghostbusters car, like not too long ago, I think a couple of days ago, drivability on the DeLorean, like that type of stuff. If new technology does come out, what's to stop VeVe from making that Superman more realistic looking and just upgrading the existing one for those holders, right? That's the one good thing about having a centralized platform, that they can always make you have the best of the best, I guess.
We did a video on that, on how like if you own that NFT, how would you feel if VeVe changed it on you? And I think some people said maybe they should give the person the option on whether they want it changed or not, because if they own it, then they should kind of have the decision on whether or not it should be allowed to be changed. So that was just a cool thing to talk about. I mean, you brought up really great points though. I think I would want it to be changed if it's going to improve it, give it more utility, like driving the drivable DeLorean. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the possibilities are endless. Like, I think we're just so early in this technology and what these mean. But the ownership aspect is interesting, because like you said, if they're changing it and it's kind of without your own knowledge, then do you really own that NFT? And this comes back to the whole thing that I think a lot of people have a roadblock for VeVe, is like, they're like, well, I want to be able to take that out. And then if they say there's a change coming, you could bring it back into the system to get it changed and take it back out again. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but the interesting thing that I'm seeing here is like, you have the non-licensed NFTs, like, which are like the Bored Apes and whatever, that are doing really, really well. And then you have like this new licensed game. And I feel like they might actually create almost like licensed wallets, so to speak, that will be like somewhat decentralized, but like different. I don't know. There's so many things that could still happen, but I just like to, like, I when I first got into VeVe, I thought one day I could take like, you know, these grails out, put it on like a cold wallet and just like lock it, like just put it like somewhere nobody could find it, like bury it in the friggin' dirt, and then show up in 10 years and then be like, look at this $1 million stick. You know what I mean? That was my interpretation of it. So I'm hoping that, like, I'm not saying it's going to get to that, but I'm hoping there's some kind of, you know, transition to where it's more your own than not.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess for some people it is a touchy topic, but another thing just in terms of your favorite collector item. So were you a physical, I see that you have it in the background. Were you a physical collector long before VeVe? Is that what maybe helped draw you to the digital space as well?
Dude, huge nerd, man, like massive nerd. And like cars, statues, like cards, and like just everything you could imagine. Like, and so it was my parents that like stopped me because I just was like obsessed, and like my whole room was all messed up, like, you know, and Pokemon was like the number one thing that I collected, and I was just going too hard. And then my like parents were like, you need to like stop, like you've gained weight, like you need to go outside, you need to like play sports,
go play some sports.
Yeah, you need to focus on school. And then I just like, my life changed at that point. And then like I, you know, got into sports like pretty heavy. And then I came back at like 19 to like 23 and started like selling off a lot of my Pokemon stuff. And then sold a lot more back right before the boom happened in March 2020. So if I would have like kept a lot of the stuff I had back then, like, holy shit, I don't know where I'd be at now. I wouldn't be like, you know, massively rich, but I'm saying like it would have put a pretty good dent in my life. You know, things like that, like you look at back then, like a Gold Star Charizard was like $600 you can pick it up for. Now they're like 25 grand at a PSA 10, you know? And so stuff like that is so crazy to see the, you know, the evolution. So that's kind of what VeVe, when VeVe came back, it like hit this side of me, and my wife was like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, she's never seen that. Right. So she's like,
wait till Pokemon comes, right?
Exactly. She was used to the guy like on his bike in the kayak going on a run to being like, hey babe, I'm just going to the comic book store. See you in 20.
Yeah. I got to match my mint number. She's like, what's that? What's the mint number?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll give you, need some gum, mint the gum.
Yeah. But yeah, gents, listen, man, like you guys are very intelligent. I know, you know, you're very Canadian to say that you're not, because that's what typically Canadians do. But I watch your channel, and like a lot of the stuff you guys are saying is really great. And you're just, you know, very honest and transparent about what's happening in the market. And so, you know, I definitely recommend, you know, people to go check you guys out. It's, you know, and I'd love to have you guys back on this channel whenever you get some time. And just so, you know, really see you guys start to evolve, because, you know, considering you've only been here for 4 months, you definitely created a pretty solid following. And or more than that now, right? You're 7 months, started in November. So
yeah, I think YouTube, we started in January, but we definitely appreciate those kind words. And we definitely think that you were part of the inspiration, of course, of us starting the YouTube channel. Joe's a big YouTube guy. He brought me into this. Okay,
Joe better go up.
Yeah. Joe's a big YouTube guy, so definitely I want to echo that. Like, I'm sure it's possible that there's people watching right now that haven't subbed to Pirates. Make sure you sub to Pirates.
And there's people here who are going to find it through our Twitter when you give us the link. So guys, hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you follow Chad. He's always putting out quality.
Superstar Chad.
Superstar Chad
team.
Superstar Chad's one of the reasons why we have a YouTube channel. I'm being honest. Like, we were watching, you were like, this is one of the few guys who actually doing quality content. There's openings in this space here, so that's why we're doing it. So he's one of the OGs that we followed. So make sure you guys go follow him too.
Sick, man.
Yeah, and of course, again, thank you for having us on. We really appreciate you bringing us to your channel, having an opportunity to talk VeVe. We love VeVe. We talk about it every day, and we also love talking about it with other people who love VeVe. And of course, you are that avenue, another local person that we can share our thoughts and have these discussions. So appreciate it. Again, subscribe to Superstar Chad NFT Pirates.
You guys are too good.
Yeah, we love your channel, and we love everything that you do as well. The fact that you're a real OG whale. So I think some people would love to follow you, to see your personal moves and how you maneuver things going forward. So thanks again.
Thanks, man. And I'm just a small fish now compared to some of these other guys. The more people you meet, the more you realize that you're swimming in big water.
It's that we did on a live. We talked about that. Like, what is a whale?
Yeah.
One guy's like, I got 100 grand in the app. I'm not a whale. And another guy's like, you know, I got 5 grand in the app. The person who has 25 grand, he's the whale. So it's all relative.
It's all relative. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, thanks a ton, man. Listen, really appreciate you coming on, and we'll do it again soon, right? So you're going to see these faces a lot more. So thanks again, gents. It was a lot of fun, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.